Spokesperson again has reacted to the judge's postponement in a statement, and here it is. The American people have re-elected President Trump with an overwhelming mandate to make America great again. It is now abundantly clear that Americans want an immediate end to the weaponization of our justice system, including this case, which should never have been filed, so we can, as President Trump said in his historic victory speech, unify our country and work together for the betterment of our nation. Fox's contributor and law professor at George Washington University, John Turley. Jonathan, we were talking last hour, and now a little bit more time has passed. Any fresh thoughts on November 19th and what we could see?
Well, the Trump administration, I think, can take some solace that they'll have a chance now to argue that the case should be dismissed. But I don't think expectations can be particularly high given this judge's track record. He has not shown any great balance at the trial. I was surprised in watching the trial to see some of his rulings, which frankly didn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought that he had left layers of reversible error, but none of that can be reviewed until this is finalized. Now, some have suggested that the judge could just freeze this for the upcoming term, to leave it in pendency. I just don't see that type of suspension as a likely or good option. You would have the president's critics saying that he's awaiting sentencing after a jury found him guilty of felonies. They need to have a status that where they can appeal this case, including the decisions made by this judge. Now, it is possible in a week that he could yield to calls for dismissal. You know, many have, including myself, felt that this case should never have been brought, that the judge made an unholy mess of it. In my view, it would be good to send the attractions back to their cages and call this circus over. But I wouldn't necessarily bet the farm on that.
Bring in Judge Jeanine Pirro, co-host of The Five. Judge, jump on in here as I read further from this letter. Prosecutors telling the judge in this case they're mindful of the demands and obligations of the presidency and realize that Trump's return to the White House will, quote, raise unprecedented legal questions. Your reaction to the news?
Well, I think it's absurd. And I think that, Juan Merchan was originally, in my mind, a pro-prosecution judge. Now
They need to be investigated. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Banana peels all out in the middle of the street. Kangaroos jumping at the intersection. Ain't never seen anything like it. Alvin, Bragg, I mean, and you know what? I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to interrupt, but I just got to get it out. I'm sorry. You know when you're hot as fish grease? Grandma used to say, I'm hot as fish grease. You got to get your piss hot. My piss is hot. Because these people are crooked, man. And we know what this is. To latest, but not what? Are you serious? They need to put their hands behind their back. Investigate it, man. Disbarred. I'm telling you, like these people. Whew, don't run your blood pressure up. Don't run your blood pressure up, man. But how do y'all feel about this, man? Shout out to them beautiful patriots around the world. I hope everybody is blessed, well, healthy, and that nothing but the best is going on in all you beautiful people's life, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We keeping it real on this one, y'all. I'm gonna just let you know now. We keeping it real. So if I start speaking out and I say some stuff and I look now. I'm telling you, I got that patriotic bloodstream running through me right now. Sorry. No regrets. But to see what they did to this man, and we covered this whole case. I mean, we even did a deep dives, extra research. We covered this whole thing. Y'all was here. And it's a disgrace, man. It's an absolute disgrace. And there are people that need to put their hands behind their back. And I want to tell you guys something. The convicted felon is the 47th president of the United States, the so-called convicted felon. But you can't tell us the crime. Prayers for Trump as well, you guys. Prayers for Trump, his cabinet, his team, his family, his administration. Because we don't know what to expect next, man. But right now, things are looking bright. And the sun is shining right now. Things are healing. But there are a lot of these frauds out here and criminals that need to put their hands behind their back that are just running free. People that don't need to be in none of these positions, these high-ranked positions. Alvin, Bragg, Letitia James, Big Fanny. We want to go on trips, vacations, drink Ciroc, and invite our and we're gonna pay our boyfriend. Lied under oath. But you know what? We want to thank it. Let's clap it up for all these. Let's clap it up for every last one of them. This is the reason, one of the reasons why it was too big to rig, why it was a landslide. Because they woke everybody up to the corruption. And this is the corruption, y'all. This is what we talked about every single video. This past year, every single video. This right here got Trump back in there. Now, there's a lot of other reasons why that Trump got back in there. And, you know, because again, people are just sick and tired. People are struggling. People are died. There's our border, our economy, everything. But this is also one of the biggest reasons why Trump is back in there. Thanks to these people. They need to put their hands behind their back. Let's jump in, yo.
Merchan is an anti-Trump judge. There is sufficient basis to dismiss this case. But instead, Juan Merchan, who was conflicted from the beginning of this and should never have been allowed to handle this case by the administrative judge of the courts, was allowed to handle this case. He gets a conviction on an absurd case that's not real. It's a make-believe case barred by the statute of limitation, bootstrapped by a federal crime over which he has no jurisdiction, and then with a verdict sheet that no one understands. And now he says, look, I'm willing to wait the 4 years so that we can continue to have Donald Trump, the president of the United States, be awaiting sentences on his conviction for 34 felony counts that are ridiculous, absurd, and everyone knows it. Now you've got Bragg who's saying, you know, that's Bragg, we want to continue this thing. So Juan Merchan now has to have a hearing and decide whether or not those arguments of Bragg are appropriate to continue this case. The Supreme Court's decision within a month of the conviction, and again, there is no conviction unless and until there's a sentencing.
They ought to be ashamed of themselves, man. The man's going to be, what, 80 something? They should be ashamed of themselves, y'all. This is pathetic. I know it's for in some cases it's victory for us, but it's just still pathetic, man. You know, it's like that one person that, you know, they've gotten proved wrong, but they just, you know, they just don't want to admit it. Like on the test, you were supposed to put C, they put D, but they still think that C but they still think that D was right instead of C. Yeah.
That decision reels right into this case because so much of this case was part of the Oval Office, Hope Hicks, Madeleine Westerhout. So much of that evidence the prosecution admitted was essential to their case goes out immediately based upon the Supreme Court's decision. Now let's talk about the fact that there's a 330 motion for dismissal of the charges. which Mershon could grant immediately by establishing some kind of precedent and saying, you know what? From now on, when there's a president in the Oval Office, irrespective of when the jury verdict came down, the case has to be dismissed. And, temporary immunity, according to Alvin Bragg, doesn't require dismissal post-trial. I mean, this is so full of hate. This is so out of sync with the American public and what they want. Alvin Bragg, Juan Mershon, the two of them brought Donald Trump, they thought, to his knees. They thought that they would put this man in jail. They thought they were heroes and would swing an election.
Yep. Say it, Janine. Say it, Judge Janine. These pathetic... Again, I gotta watch my words on here because y'all know I almost said something I wasn't supposed to say. But they tried everything, man. And they honestly thought that they were going to get this man out of there for good. They honestly thought that. They honestly thought, oh, once he's, once he has this label, it's over. The convicted felon, it's wraps. Once we paint this picture, he's done for. They honestly thought that. And that's why I'm so excited. I'm not even mad anymore, y'all. That's why I'm rejoicing right now. Because they honestly thought that it was going to work. And we want to thank you. Y'all made it even easier. We told you after the mugshot. We told you.
One of the reasons that Donald Trump got elected, because the American people do not believe in this kind of justice. This is what happens in third world countries, and Alvin Bragg continues to prove it. And Juan Mershon right now doesn't have the spine. He doesn't know what he's going to do. But right now they want a hearing. They'll have a hearing. They want a motion scheduled, Alvin Bragg, to decide the motion to dismiss. So Bragg is now putting it on Mershon, but is opposing it.
Here is the great, I don't know if you want to call it an irony or a tragedy or what you want to call it, Judge, but you've got a district attorney in Alvin Bragg who is willing to wait 4 years for some sentence to come down on Donald Trump. And it could be anything from a fine to who knows what, while at the same time, the justice system in New York let walk on the streets a homeless man who's mentally ill, who stabbed to death 3 people in the Big Apple yesterday.
3. Yep. Yeah. Look, I am standing in front of 100 Center Street. I am in front of the courthouse right now where Donald Trump was tried. And one of the defense attorneys came up to me. He said, you know what? I'm not a Republican. He said, but what they did in that Trump case is absurd. He said, I've got 10 clients whose crimes were committed, allegedly, he said, before this Trump case. He said, we can't even get them to trial. We can't even get the DA to talk about it. They rushed this case for the purpose of destroying Donald Trump. And the American people wouldn't have it. And this case has to be dismissed. It is a violation of everything we hold dear. It's unconstitutional. It is insufficient in terms of evidence, and it is reversible error. There's enough error in this thing to reverse a ship.
Piers Bragg signed this filing himself, which is noted as a departure from the office's typical practice. Judge, if you could also stand by with us on the breaking news, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Are you tired of winning right now? Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. A statement out from the Trump-Vance transition team on the Manhattan witch trial. It literally says that right here in the headline. Statement on the Manhattan witch hunt trial. This is a total and definitive victory for President Trump and the American people who elected him in a landslide. We'll get to the breaking news here in just a second, but President Trump just released this statement. The Manhattan District Attorney has conceded that the witch hunt cannot continue. The lawless case is now stayed. President Trump's legal team is moving to get it dismissed once and for all, says Trump's new communications director. This is rocketing around the internet, going thermonuclear viral because of this today. Donald Trump's hush money sentencing completely and totally called off. Oh yeah, baby. Stormy Daniels down bad. And Yeah, not in the way she wants to be. Donald Trump is sentencing a New York hush money case called off as the court decides how to move forward with his astounding re-election landslide victory. According to a short court note, the sentencing scheduled later this month, November 26th, has been indefinitely adjourned. It comes as Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg and his prosecutor deputies argue that the case against President Trump should proceed. Okay, how are you going to do that exactly? But they also stunningly acknowledge that they may need to pause the case in order to have more time to consider the next steps. We would not oppose Trump's request for a stay for their proceedings while they wait the decision to be dismissed, the prosecutors wrote in a term on Tuesday. The Trump team immediately declared victory over the admission.
I tell you, man, these people need to be investigated, man. They need to put their hands behind their back, man. You know, they need. I'm telling y'all, man, it's just.
Calling this a complete and total victory. Judge Juan Merchan is currently weighing whether the Supreme Court's historic presidential immunity decision and presidential election outcomes apply to the case, and has not yet made a determination pausing the proceedings. Maybe Judge Merchan should make up his mind, because Judge Merchan is one of those people who are going to immediately get investigated because he's been using this case to fraudulently fill the coffers of his daughter, who's a little gremlin who does fundraising for Democrats. We've shown you the receipts time and time again on this program. Judge Merchan's daughter raises untold millions for Democrat politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, this man right here, Todd Blanche, is going to be the new Deputy Attorney General. So it looks like the shoe is on the other foot now, assholes.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be very, very bad. In a filing this week, Trump lawyer Todd Blanche called for a stay on the dismissal of the case. They say it creates impediments to Trump's ability to govern, among other issues. Merchan is expected to make a decision on the Trump team's argument. Former President Trump's conduct is entitled to immunity protections following the ruling. 6-3 Supreme Court conservative Justice majority came through in July. The ruling stated that the President of the United States has immunity from prosecution for official acts in office. So what this is effectively saying is that Donald Trump was running for president and was trying to cover up, trying to tie off loose ends here. These are called nuisance lawsuits. Everybody deals with nuisance lawsuits. This is what the Stormy Daniels lawsuit was. Stormy Daniels got paid, signed an NDA, and that was the end of it. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg agrees to pause Trump hush money case, opposed to tossing case entirely. So what are they going to try to drag this thing out for another 4 years? They're going to try and litigate it in 2029 when Trump is out of office. Maybe Trump will be out of office. Maybe Donald Trump goes and serves as J.D. Vance's vice president. You ever thought about that? You ever thought about that, Juan? Maybe Donald Trump goes right back into the executive branch. They just swap. There's no constitutional limits on how many times you can run for vice president. You ever thought about that one? Jackass. Alvin Bragg wants Donald Trump's sentencing postponed. If I were these jackasses, I would want this case gone forever. You realize how dirty this thing is? Matthew Colangelo is somebody who worked inside of the Justice Department, who was shoved into this backwater office, this dingy office, in order to prosecute Trump. There are so many pieces of dirty laundry in this case. They should want this thing to go away. The people who are behind this case should be the number one individuals asking for its dismissal.
Yep.
A real Justice Department is really going to look into this and see all this is a dirty bomb that is going to blow up in the faces, metaphorically, of those who hatched this scheme. An important reminder that this is a case that was that tried to be brought against Trump multiple times. They finally got the Soros prosecutor to do it. The Soros prosecutor who is allowing criminals to run rampages over all of Manhattan.
It's ridiculous.
Who has bootstrapped a misdemeanor into a felony somehow. That have apparatchiks from Maine DOJ sent in by Merrick Garland in order to run the actual case, because Alvin Bragg's just such a dumbass. They should want this to go away. This thing is red herring around their neck. They're not going to want this with a real attorney general. Manhattan DA has agreed to postpone Donald Trump's November 26th sentencing until and after the defendant's upcoming presidential term. Oh, okay. CNN effectively melting down, saying that Trump's sentencing would be in 2029. Okay. Not a great plan, right? Not a great plan. Here's how Fox covered it.
Harris, thank you so much. And the breaking news this afternoon, it looks like the can is being kicked down the road yet again in Judge Merchan's court with no decision on the immunity of the President of the United States and no decision yet on whether or not to dismiss this case in its entirety. Sandra, the prosecution, Alvin Bragg's office, is merely saying they're going to agree to a stay in this case while Trump files a motion to dismiss. They're not against the sentencing not happening today, but they are reserving the right, and they're making the suggestion, let's put everything on hold until he's out of office, and then we'll go after him again.
Right, just to reiterate the point that the judge has not agreed to this yet, but the prosecution has agreed to delay the sentencing. That's the news right now. We're just getting in the filing from the Manhattan DA's office to Judge Merchan, and I believe Carrie Urban has that in hand right now, John.
Yeah, okay, so let's go to Carrie. Carrie, it's on page 2 of Alvin Bragg's letter to Judge Merchan, where they say consideration must be given to various non-dismissal options that may address any concerns raised by the pendency of a post-trial criminal proceeding during the presidency, such as deferral of all remaining criminal proceedings until after the end of the defendant's upcoming presidential term. They're not letting this thing go.
Yeah, let me make this as simple as possible. What Bragg's office is saying here is let's drag this out for as long as we possibly can, whether Donald Trump is president or not, which I think is quite something, considering, as you just said, the will of the people is pretty clear. Lawfare didn't work. Donald Trump was reelected, and he was resoundingly. But are we that surprised? Think about it. The top official, one of the top officials of the Department of Justice, left that prime spot, took an incredible job downgrade to work for a local prosecutor here in the state of New York. Why? Because he wanted very much to finally get Trump. They did, and they are not willing to let that go. And that is what their filing is all about.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is extra hilarity. From the top of the New York Times right now, Manhattan DA suggests freezing case until 2029. Oh, you're pissing off the wrong people here, man. You're pissing off the wrong people. One of the people who have been defending Donald Trump is, of course, his lawyer, Alina Habba. She joined our program last week to talk about what it's like to face down this Manhattan jury and what's going to happen to this case and all of the lawfare cases against President Trump. And she didn't hold back. Here we go. I think they're going to have to rethink the entire strategy, much like they'll have to rethink the entire lawfare strategy. You're currently in New York. Juan Merchan, you may pass him in the street. What would you tell Juan Merchan exactly if you were in an elevator with him?
If I was not Donald Trump's lawyer, what would I tell him? What are you doing? Dismiss the case. You're embarrassing yourself. As an attorney, obviously I can't speak to a judge. I'm not the attorney on that case, though, so I can say this. I think that people are really, they were so transparently angry, and they were so transparently foolish with the lawfare that these are the people that are the poster children for why we won. Letitia James and Governor Hochul came out the day.
Like I told y'all, and I told y'all, it's again, what she just said, I repeated it probably, 3-4 times this video, but still. Also, the other thousands of videos we've done this past year, that they made it. They had a huge play in this Trump victory, and we want to thank them. We want to clap it up for them. We applaud them.
Day after the election, and had a narcissistic press conference like I've never seen in my life, where they made it about the resistance and like. It's the resistance. We're going to come after you. Oh, they think they're going to come in and be the president of the United States, and we're not going to listen. So now you're not going to listen to the president of the United States. We don't like that culture as Americans.
Yes.
We don't like it. That's why everybody, including New Jersey, almost turned red where I'm from, because America's freaked out. If you're doing this to a billionaire, what if you do it to me? I'm not a billionaire. I can't afford that kind of attack. I can't afford the lawyers for that. That's scary for America. And these people are the face of the Trump campaign. The lawyer for Donald Trump is now on Benny Johnson because they've tried so hard to knock him down that it became part of our campaign. This is un-American. You should be ashamed. He should have dismissed that case on Tuesday. He needed another week. What do you need a week for? The Supreme Court already held there's immunity. What do you need a week for? It's not a good PR week for you? You need to wait a week? Your PR team telling you no? Like, these are things judges are not supposed to do. They're just not. And those are people that I really am concerned about, but I'm really proud of. Listen, that's why Gates is coming in.
Yes.
Oh, boy. Woo! Yes, indeed, man. What do y'all think of this? Comment down below. I can see the comments down below already. I already know what them Patriots talking about. And that's why the title it is the way it is. I know some of y'all get mad about some time of us creators putting certain titles. People call it clickbait or whatever. But again, man, they mean a huge statement of what actually needs to happen if it haven't already happened. I'm just saying. For real. Hands behind your back. Disbarred, removed, investigated. Jail time. These crooked people, man. It's ridiculous. And they should be ashamed of themselves, man. You know? But again, we want to thank them. Because they played one of the reasons why it was also a landslide. Yes, indeed. Well, let me know what y'all think of this. I love y'all. And I will catch you beautiful people in the next one. Peace and love, y'all.